Hi, I'm Dave Klein, and this is a Cymulate Cybersecurity Newscast. First news story, bug bounties. It's something that we do in the industry to help get hackers to turn in the cool exploits that they find or vulnerabilities that they find that lead to exploits and pay them a reward for doing so they don't end up in the wild and in criminals' hands or nation state hands for that matter. So there's a great show in Vancouver that occurs every year that just occurred, Pawn to Own. And this year, they had a total of 25 new 0 days that were discovered. Trend Micro is the one who funds this Pawn to Own Vancouver event in their 0 day initiative. And basically 25 0 days were found. Total of $1.16 million was given out to contestants. And it went from everything from like this. So Windows 11, they had 6 hacks, included privilege escalation hacks, use after free exploits, and out-of-bound escalation of privilege exploits. You had 3 that were discovered in Microsoft Teams, 5 0 days in Ubuntu. On the browser side, there were exploits found in Apple, Safari, and Mozilla, Firefox. And they even took a Tesla, and the team that was able to break into the user interface on the dashboard got the car as a reward. Really kind of cool. I'll put a link to the Forbes article and to the actual website of the Pawn to Own Vancouver crew. It's really kind of neat to see. Last week, we talked about the southern Italian city of Palermo and how they suffered a ransomware attack that took them down for most of the week. And we're talking all the way down. Their security cameras for the police were out of commission. All payment systems, all municipal software was down. On top of that, the downtown area is rather ancient and has special traffic guidance systems to keep it from being clogged up. That was down. And finally, in the height of the tourist season, all venues and museums and things like that, all the ticketing and reservation systems were down. So quite a challenge for them. But I wanted to take a similar size municipality and show a success story. So the city of Palermo has 1.5 million people. So I chose the country of Estonia. Let's take a look. So the country of Estonia, of 1.5 million people, is a very pretty Baltic country and with a quite interesting history. They were invaded by the Nazis during World War II, and then they were occupied by the Soviets afterwards. Once they gained their independence, they joined NATO in 2002. And they suffered a thing called Web War I. That's what they call it, Web War I. And it started when the Estonian government was moving a very prominent statue, a controversial statue of a Soviet liberator, which they viewed as an occupier, to a small cemetery where the bodies of other Soviet soldiers who had fallen were buried. The Russians didn't take nicely to this and spread terrible lies that the Estonians were disinterring the body of these fallen Soviet soldiers and burning them. It ended up causing a riot in downtown Tallinn, which is their capital city, and one person actually died. The Russians then followed up with a major attack that lasted several weeks on the Estonian country in a cyber way, took down the press, banks, and the whole government IT systems for quite a bit. But the story here is a positive one. They learned from those attacks, really rebuilt themselves from a cybersecurity perspective, and have done a great job. It was a combination of the government, civilian volunteers, and the private sector. A great example of this is Crossroads Software. Is a software that the government runs on. Very distributed, very redundant, no single point of failure. Distributed everywhere, so if one part goes down, it can get it somewhere else. No single point of failure. So it really was a success story. And the coolest part of the story is they helped take the knowledge that they had learned and how they transformed their society to be cybersecurity savvy, and help create the Global Cybersecurity Index, which is an International Telecommunications Union group. And they are actually in 3rd place in cybersecurity behind the United States, which is 1. And then Britain and Saudi Arabia hold the 2nd place. So again, they're 3rd place behind the United States, Britain, and Saudi Arabia. And the coolest thing is, I'm going to put a link to this Global Cybersecurity Index and what it measures and how it works in the notes section of the video. If you are a municipality, this is phenomenal. Whether you're a city, a town, whether you are a hospital healthcare system or a nation, it was really interesting how they took their information and helped establish this global cybersecurity index. It basically is based on 5 measures. First one is legal measures, the idea of understanding legally how you need to set up your society to punish people when there are cybersecurity problems. The second is technical measures, everything from having a computer incident response capability, among other things, setting up all sorts of ways to handle things like that. Or organizational measures, so the idea of taking those incident response plans and knowing who's to respond to what when attacks occur. There's the one called capability measures, which is education, preparing your society in high school, in colleges, and other ways to support cybersecurity. And then cooperative measures, how you take your knowledge and your information and share with other entities to make a stronger collective, and that's kind of important. And there was also a 6th point, which is around child online protection, which is awesome as well. I'm going to put a link again to that global cybersecurity index. It really is a good way to look at establishing yourself and creating some maturity in your entity. Often on the newscast, we talk about vulnerabilities and the challenges of vulnerabilities. You think about it, we're at an average now of 30,000 new vulnerabilities a year. That is, by the way, 600% larger than it was a decade prior. On top of that, you have a record number of CVEs from all the prior years that we're trying to take and get rid of as well, right? So you have all these new vulnerabilities, these existing ones. You have a time from vulnerability to exploit, which is greatly reduced, often within hours, if not before the vulnerability is announced. So what do? It's kind of a real challenge. So this Tuesday, June 21st, 11 a.m. Singapore time. So people in Asia, you can watch it live. Everyone else, you can watch it on recording. I am having one of my favorite people, Magda Chelly, Dr. Magda Chelly, on my show, and we're going to discuss leveraging attack-based vulnerability prioritization to find vulnerabilities and reduce risk and find mitigating first and third-party security controls to take advantage of to help you quickly shore up security and allow patching to be more controlled and things like that. So definitely come see it. I'll put a link to where you can register and watch the broadcast live or on recording. And that's the Cymulate Cybersecurity Newscast for the week. I'm Dave Klein. Have a great week. See you next time.